might want to buckle up, baby. Welcome to Push Your Glasses Up. This is Mikey.
This is Reena, and hi.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I like that you had a dream that I was a Black Widow killer.
Yeah, it's on brand.
Yeah, well, wait, I didn't understand if I was a killer of like Black Widow like as a character, or that
Oh,
I
no, no,
just
no, no.
lured men in
You lured men in, and then you
like
killed them.
like Debbie in Addams Family Values.
Yes, you are Joan Cusack.
Awesome. But that's not what this
Um,
is about. This is about us. This is about our podcast. This is about Star Wars.
I mean, it could be about Adam's Family Values. That'd be fine.
we
Considering
just do a we just
I
do a
was
whole
also
podcast on
yeah,
it.
I was also just watching a video about the Haunted Mansion, so it all ties together.
And you know
Um,
what's funny? FX is doing a Halloween in May thing right now with all the tree houses of horror.
well, there you go.
We're all on the same wavelength, man. We're like cosmically connected.
Well, I've needed some zen in my life recently, and watching Disney Parks videos has been it. So, take that as you will.
Good segue into the latest Disney movie, technically.
Yeah, the latest Disney princess, Han Solo.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What a plucky young princess.
yes. I will say it's not the best Star Wars movie, but it's one of the most fun times I've had with a Star Wars movie since I was a kid.
It's not as bad as we thought it was gonna be.
It didn't let me down by any means. It's not a great movie.
No, and I kind of wish that they called it Solo when Han met Chewie, because that's really,
Yeah, they had a meet cute.
yeah, that
Nice.
was the most important part of the film, in my opinion.
But I genuinely had a smile on my face the whole time.
Oh yeah, I thoroughly
It
enjoyed
was,
it.
which I can't say about most Star Wars movies at this point.
No,
I
no,
think
this is before
watching A New
everything
Hope
got
for the
really.
first time.
This is before everything got really grim.
Yeah. But also, so I was having a conversation at work the other day, and I figured out that this movie is the Star Wars version of Ant-Man, basically. It's coming out right after a big mainline, pretty heavy movie, and it's basically a palate cleanser.
Mhm.
And as far as that goes, and adding into the whole thing I've been going on about for a while about it being like a Saturday afternoon TV show for kids in the Star Wars universe,
Mhm.
it lived up to that expectation. So I was completely fine with that.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's going to be divisive. Any fucking thing with Star Wars is going to be divisive now, but whatever.
I don't think they. I mean, there's not really much to be that divisive about. It stays pretty high level.
Well, it's the same crowd as before that just fucking hates anything that's Star Wars now, but
Because it's
says
cool
they
to
love
hate
Star Wars.
It's cool to hate Star Wars. It's cool to hate
Yeah.
the things you love. What?
Yeah. Why be sincere about anything?
Mhm.
Has Paddington taught us anything? Be sincere, and you come out in a high quality. That's it.
You know,
That's it.
Paddington really had a profound effect on you.
Paddington is the best movie ever made. Well,
I'm going
Paddington
to
2 in particular.
I'm going to London. I might have to bring you back an official Paddington. I bet I can find one.
We have one in my house.
But is it from London?
Yes.
Fine, whatever. Then no gifts for you, okay? Fine.
That's-
Whatever.
I
Trying to be a
appreciate
good
it, but
friend.
I don't honestly need more than one Paddington thing in the house.
I don't know,
Um,
man. This movie really affected your soul.
well, there's Paddington stuff in my family from before these movies existed. So, but yeah, Solo is literally just whatever, turn your brain off, have a good time at the movies. It's not trying to be. It's where Batman v Superman and Justice League could have been they could have had more fun to them, but they took themselves way too seriously. This was just oh, fuck that. We're going to just go balls to the walls, like adventure, Western, serialized stuff. And it worked really well for me.
Yeah.
Granted, some of the acting, not amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
However, you know who was amazing? Let's talk about some pros here.
well, Donald Glover.
Yeah. How did you know it
Yeah.
was going to go that way?
Well, honestly, like the two best performances are his and Phoebe Waller-Bridge as L3,
Mm-hmm.
and their chemistry and back and forth is amazing. Like he's the sort of naturally suave, but like he's still young, so he's still learning his way with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like the naturally suave bullshit that Lando ever does, but L3 just like her tone being like, no, I'm gonna call you out on all this bullshit. Like it just that was probably the best relationship in the whole movie. Even beyond Han and Chewie. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Lando, I like that Kira's all up in his capes.
Yeah.
I like that we got to see in Lando's closet.
Yeah, I thought they were leading into a little bit of like a love triangle thing with that, and then they thankfully steered clear of
Like
that.
they flicked a switch and like a round bed comes up out of the floor and like the lights dim, the capes magically like go backwards into the wall.
There was something uncomfortable about that scene to me though. And it's the fact that like and there's a couple of moments in this movie that do this, and it's that they're taking Leia moments and reusing them as somebody else's.
Yeah, kinda.
Like that kiss and like some of the interactions. It felt like they were trying to reuse Leia moments, and that's one of the few things I was like, maybe no, I don't like that.
Well, there was that, and I actually like I found L3 to be like a little bit much, like such a caricature of like what everyone calls a social justice warrior, like to the extreme. And I was like, are you just doing that to like to troll the fanboys? Like as much as I liked her, there was just some stuff that was like, really?
I can see that, but I also was totally fine with
Oh, I thought it was funny,
it.
but I also felt like it was a big troll.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be. Um, but yeah, like I feel like Paul Bettany's talents were kind of wasted in this.
Yeah.
He was pretty minimalized for being like the overseer of the movie. Like he's the main bad guy technically through the whole movie.
Mhm.
Amelia Clarke I thought was kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, they didn't give her. They kept saying, "You don't know the things that she's done," and I'm like, "Is that mean like she's like murder faced people, or like are you trying to make her seem like some sort of like crazy sex spy?" Like I don't
That's where I
know.
was leaning with it too.
Yeah, and I'm like, stop saying like I don't know. I felt like it like the way that it was ambiguous took away from her character. I would have rather had the reveal that she was like, you know, I don't know, kind of more of a Gamora in the sense that like
Yeah, like she killed and tortured people.
yeah, like
Like that
that's
would
how
be
she got. How did
leaving
she get
it.
to be a lieutenant? She's a lieutenant, but then like they weren't dating, but they were. I don't.
Yeah, leaving it vague left this weird like sexual aspect to it in the air as an adult. Like as a kid, I'm sure I probably wouldn't have thought of it that way, but like it left that little bit of a tone, especially with how they were like kind of touchy feely with each other
Yeah,
when they
it was
were.
very odd, and I just thought like, oh great, like the only way for her to escape is to sleep her way out. That's really empowering, Star Wars. Thanks for that.
Right. Which I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we've seen that story used, but like yeah, it leaving it giving it more definition would have probably helped that situation a little bit.
Yeah, especially when they referred to her as a lieutenant, and then we see her kick. She has kick-ass fight skills. We see that, but like there just wasn't enough of it.
Yeah, I need to look up the full name of the game because they make a reference to a specific Star Wars game that is like, oh yes, it is the like worst Star Wars game of all time. It is a fighting game called Star Wars Masters of the Terras Kasai. Terras Kasai is what she knows as a fighting technique. Um, It's a bad game. Tandy Newton and Woody Harrelson were fine.
I wish that they didn't kill her off so soon. Oh yeah, like spoilers, guys. Like spoilers,
whatever. It's a review.
Yeah.
I wish that they flipped their roles.
Ooh, that would have been so good.
Yeah. I like seeing Tandy Newton do all like the gunslinging stuff. That would have been fucking rad.
Mm-hmm.
We already know she can. Like, she does it on Westworld. Just fucking give her blasters instead of a revolver. It's fine.
But now she's in Shogun World.
Well, yeah, but the show is still called Westworld.
That's the only thing. I just started watching it this season, and I think I've only seen 2 random episodes. And the only thing I understand is some of the Japanese now that they're in Shogun World. That's it. Nothing else makes sense.
Well, you're keeping it on brand.
Yeah.
All right. And so like Alden Ehrenreich, it's weird because sometimes he sounded exactly like Harrison Ford's Han Solo.
Mm-hmm.
And then other times he sounded exactly like David Harbour.
Who's David Harbour?
Stranger Things.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like
I can see that.
His voice and tone, like not even just like his cadence, but the actual sound of his voice, the actual tone of his voice sounded like David Harbour's voice. Especially in the scene where he and Lando are first playing Sabacc.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird. Like it super feels like the scene in Suicide Squad that David Harbour is in. Like it almost feels like that scene because it's the same. Like they're sitting around a table and having a discussion, and it's bizarre. It felt a little weird. I think overall he did a perfectly fine job. But it's one of those things where it's like no matter how good he did, it's never going to live up to people's expectations of like, it needs to be perfect or it's not good enough. So it's like, I think he did perfectly fine overall, but you know, you're not going to be able to please everybody in this universe.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like he was lacking charisma. Like, I don't know. He just didn't seem like a rebel to me. Like, there was just like something off.
Well, I think they did a good job of showcasing the fact that he's not like the natural, like, quote unquote, smooth bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a fucking dweeb and he tries hard. And that's what Han Solo actually is. He's like, Lando's the smooth guy. Han is the guy that's like trying to be the smooth guy. And I think they actually portray that pretty well.
I don't know. Maybe it's in my head. I always pictured like Ansel Elgort as like, that's his name, right? From Baby Driver?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always pictured him as more of a young Han, but.
Oh, because he kind of looks like him.
Yeah, and then also after Baby Driver.
Yeah. Well, since he's wearing that jacket, that looks like Han Solo's costume.
Yeah, and if you just switch cars for spaceships.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The performances were sort of like middle of the road or whatever, except for Donald Glover and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I guess. But
you know what the most touching moment was, though?
What?
When Chewie finds his people. And when he says bye to his people.
And C-3PO is in that scene.
Oh, I didn't even see 3PO. I saw R2 in like a wide shot.
No, neither of them are actually there. That's just another R2 unit, and Anthony Daniels is in that scene, not actually C-3PO.
Well, I guess while we're talking about it, we should talk about some of the name drops and cameos.
Okay, we start with the big one?
Well, no, I was going to start with Bosk.
Okay.
I love Bosk.
Yeah,
mostly because I love Bosk on a Segway.
It was cool to get the name drop, but like if I'm not gonna see him, like it's one of those like
He wasn't screaming "fuck you" in a yellow jumpsuit.
But it's just one of those things. Like this movie had a lot of those like prequel, like this is why this is there, and this is a person you know from this, and it's like, all right, I get that this is purely a fan service thing, but I could have probably not needed the
I
Bosk
like
reference.
I like fan service probably because
Oh no, no,
I
yeah.
like anime, but like that's a different kind of fan service. But yeah, but I like they mentioned like the Hut Cartel and stuff that I
Yeah, the more world building stuff I liked with that. I liked some of the like prop cameo stuff.
mhm.
Like Woody Harrelson is wearing the mask and helmet that Lando is wearing when they go to save Han from Jabba the Hutt in Return of the Jedi. Like stuff like
Mhm.
that. I appreciated those things. Like why would he have this armor? Oh, he's always had this armor because of this mission they went on long ago. All right, cool. Um,
They just hung it up next to the capes.
yeah, he has a helmet and mask room too.
Mhm.
That's that is probably even more on brand for Lando than a cape room, I would say.
mhm.
It's also
That
gags and
that was his vanilla room.
yeah,
Anyway,
and then
uh
he always wore his sex jeans.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, what other cameos kind of perked you up a little bit?
That was kind of it.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, and then the big one. We can talk about the big one, which I went to see it with Steven, and he was like, "Oh my god!" He got
Yeah,
really excited.
I was freaking out. Like I couldn't believe that they actually brought Maul back for a movie. Like I've been telling people, so I like that night I watched it on Thursday night. That night I got like 6 DMs and texts from people like, "How is he alive? I thought he was dead." And I was like, "I've been telling all of you to watch Clone Wars and watch Rebels. Now you know why."
Mhm.
This is it shows the whole explanation of what happened to him after the Phantom Menace and how he
Wait,
survived
what happened to him after the Phantom Menace? How did he survive?
pretty much on the hatred of Obi-Wan Kenobi. It like kept him alive.
So did he
Uh
just like grow back legs, or is he like
no
Darth
no no no
Vadering
no.
it?
Did you not notice that he has robot legs? You see his robot legs on like the 3/4 from behind shot as it's
Oh,
about to reveal him.
I didn't see
Um
his robot legs.
so in Clone Wars, his brother Savage Opress finds him, and he has his upper body is his normal upper body, but his lower body is basically a spider made out of like robot parts.
That's terrifying.
Oh, it's fucked up. And Sam Witwer does the voice of him in both the cartoons and in this movie. And Ray Park is back as
Mhm.
the actual actor behind the role. Um, too bad for Peter Serafinowicz, who couldn't come back. So then they go on this whole thing. They're on Dathomir, and the witches of Dathomir basically like give him more humanized robot legs, and then it goes from there. But and then he's like he has another showdown with Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars era, and then on Rebels he has another showdown with him on Tatooine when he's like not quite old Ben, but he's an older Obi-Wan.
Mhm.
So basically in the era that like people kind of want to see an Obi-Wan movie take place. Um,
Well,
yeah,
then maybe that's foreshadowing. They've been talking about an Obi-Wan movie, and that would make sense if they brought Maul back.
it'd be cool. It'd be cool if they did that, and it'd be cool if because the way that they're setting it up is that like the next Han Solo movie, he would just be the more main villain, with
Mhm.
Kira being his like. They sort of teased, but didn't really announce that maybe she's Sith, like going to be Sith, but
Mhm.
just with the fact that it's like the master and apprentice aspect of Maul. But yeah, I literally like had my hands on my head like holy shit, I can't believe that they did this. It was the one moment in the whole movie that like blew me away, as opposed to just being like this is an enjoyable ride. Like that moment actually like threw me back.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool. I wasn't that like emotionally invested in it, but I'm glad that they brought him back because I felt like he got the short end of the stick in the Phantom Menace. He was like too cool of a character.
He kind of got the long end of the stick
That's true.
in the Phantom.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, there. I mean, I'm trying to think of some of the since I overall had a general aspect of enjoyment with this movie, I'm trying to think of things that like stuck out that didn't ruin anything for me, but like aren't as good as they probably could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole first act, the cinematography and lighting seemed like so like crazy dark.
Yeah.
Like the whole sequence where they're underground, and like I get that it's underground and light hurts the sort of bosses that they're dealing with. Proxima, I think was the
Mm-hmm.
weirdly
Yeah.
enough coming off of Infinity War. But like it was so dark that like I couldn't see anything on the screen.
Oh, I didn't feel like it was that dark, but I saw it in 3D, so I don't know if that changed it a little bit.
That actually should make it darker,
Maybe it's just
because
the darkness in my soul. I can see just
probably
fine.
because 3D does actually like it projects darker, and then it also you have the glasses on, so it makes it even darker. So
But I
in
could see
theory,
fine. So,
yeah, I don't know. I was watching it on the large format theater at my work, which is a 72-foot screen, and
mhm.
it was 2D, just basic projection, and it was for some reason that whole sequence was just like it was all shadows. I could like make things out, but like even the car chase was like so dimly lit that it was somewhat hard to enjoy to the fullest. But I liked the design of Proxima. That was cool. The sluggy worm that isn't a fat sluggy worm.
You know what she looks like? You know in Spaceballs when he gets the special?
Yeah,
And it's like a ripoff of Alien? Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. That's what it looks like. That's what Lady Proxima looks like.
when they're doing the WB frog.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Um. Yeah. What are some of the things that were like big highlights, or that at least were like that's a cool moment that I appreciate that they threw in there.
I like when Chewie found other Wookiees and
Hmm.
that everybody helped out. I like that the leader of the rebellion is like a young woman who looks like a young Maya Rudolph.
So with Enfy's Nest, I was talking with Brittany on the Twitters at kind of movie snob about it, and I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought it was gonna be a reveal
Oh,
that
that was their daughter.
yeah that it was gonna be Val and Beckett's daughter.
I mean, well,
Um,
she looked the part.
yeah, so I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought that that was gonna happen.
I
I'm a
thought that
little
was gonna happen too.
disappointed. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed that it didn't happen because the look on Woody Harrelson's face when she took the mask off played that way so well, and if that had happened, I would have been a lot more interested in her specific story of like seeing her story in like a comic or something. I'd immediately go buy that. I'm
Mhm.
not at like I'm interested but not as like crazy excited about immediately diving into her story or something. Um but yeah, that was I guess that was a nice little like, oh, we thought it was just a rival gang. Turns out they're the good guys.
Mhm.
Um, there were a couple things for me that were like,
Oh, then that little Warwick Davis.
yeah, Warwick Davis being in a on screen with his own face and speaking role for the first time in a Star Wars movie.
Yep.
He's never had both of those things in a role in Star Wars. Um,
I
doesn't
love it.
surprise me as he's friends with Ron Howard because Willow.
Well, yeah.
Um,
I love the letter that he wrote to George Lucas when he was Wicket.
yeah. Well, before he was Wicket.
But, well, that okay before being cast.
Yeah.
That was adorable.
And then he became Wicket, and it was like it all worked out.
Mhm.
um, no, there is one thing that I thought was really cool. With Lando and Han when they first meet each other. And Lando has always called him Han.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that they explained it as when Han is hustling them with sabak, and he calls it sabak, and so Lando just retorts with Han, and then that's the origin of that. And I thought that was just a nice little, like, that's one of those fan service things that I'm like, all right, that's a nice little thing that we don't have to dwell on too much.
Although I still don't understand how they became friends, because he left hating him.
Well, I think it's a friendship based on respect of the fact that they're pretty fucking similar. It's just one is a pig pen and one is a golden boy. So
I thought you were gonna make some sort of Charlie Brown reference.
I mean, I did. Just the fact that the Han Solo is a pig pen. But yeah, the whole explanation of, like, remember when they revealed what the Millennium Falcon looked like in this movie, and everyone was like, how does Han Solo make it dirty so quickly? And it's like, oh, he makes it dirtier quicker than you even think.
Yep.
Like, he makes it dirty the first time he flies. Han
Solo,
like,
this is why we can't have nice things.
Han Solo, trash pile. But yeah, it's I don't know. There's just something about this movie that has a lot of, like, charm, and I don't want to say sincerity, but, like, there's something to just not, like, cynical about it, where they're just like, they know that they're just making this movie to be a fun movie. And it doesn't need any crazy deeper meaning to it. It's a fun movie, and then there's some crazy teases in it that might have deeper meaning and might not have deeper meaning if they continue on actually making them.
Well, what other origins would you want to say? Or, like, not like prequels, but extended
I want to see different
storylines.
eras. I want to see different eras of the Star Wars universe. I want to see the Old Republic get brought forward, because that's their, like, nobility epic would be to just go to the Old Republic where it's knights, like, and not just like Jedi knights. I mean, like, knights. It's straight up their version of, like, medieval times. So, like, the stuff that I want to see is just, like, way more ancillary than the mainline time frame that the Star Wars movies have been set in. Granted, I feel like they'll probably go more with that for, like, TV show stuff. Like, the Game of Thrones guys have a show that they're making for the streaming service for Disney, and I would assume that that's what they were sort of brought on to do, because it would make sense for them to. I mean, they've already done that style show, so I would assume they'd be okay at doing another one that just has lasers and cool light up swords. And then the Jon Favreau one, like, cool, it's more Star Wars, but it takes place, like, pretty much right after Endor, so I'm not like, I gotta watch that, but that's fine. And he actually had, like, one of the most emotionally driven performances in the whole movie, as Rio, the little monkey man.
Yeah. And then he was killed way too fast. Like, I don't know. I felt like you didn't really get a chance to know the characters very well.
Particularly the ones that we were losing.
Yeah. Like, they set up, like, oh, we have a crew, and that lasted, like, a second.
Well, it's funny, because, like, in the trailer made it seem like they were going to focus on, like, building a crew, but that line is actually from the end of the movie when he's talking about Jabba the Hutt's building a crew. So, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I'm assuming the follow-up to this would involve, like, Darth Maul essentially being, like, a mob boss that runs all the families, basically. And so I'm sure we'll see Jabba's sort of group of bounty hunters and shit. So we'll probably get Bossk. probably end up getting Boba Fett even
Well, now they're talking
beyond the
about.
Boba Fett movie.
Well, I mean, what Boba Fett movie are they gonna do? Or like, it has to take place later. We already kind of know like
Somebody,
the.
I saw something on Twitter that I was like, oh my god, yeah, just fucking do that. Just make the Dread movie with Carl Urban
Mhm.
as a Boba Fett movie, where he's actually not the main character, he's actually the side character. He never takes his helmet off, and it's basically just a ripoff of the Raid. Um, that would be fine. That would be perfectly fine with me. I don't want to learn anything extra about Boba Fett. I know plenty about Boba Fett,
Mhm.
and we learned everything extra that we need to from Clone Wars. So just go watch that if
Yep.
you want more backstory to him. Um, he's a pretty shitty bounty hunter. He's
It's
not.
way too much credit.
He just looks cool,
But
and
like you
I mean,
know when
I have
they.
that hoodie. Like, it's cool, but
What is
yeah,
it? Is it Empire when they assemble the bounty hunters?
yeah.
Like, why can't they do a movie of that?
Well, I think that's where they'll get, with the fact that like I think we'll end up seeing more of that because one would assume they would have to do the like mafioso with the different families all coming together to go after Han Solo. Like it just kind of seems like an obvious choice to me, but who knows? We'll see. I mean, they went with a pretty safe story on this, other
Mhm.
than the mall reveal. So we'll see if they actually decide to do that. But it's, I mean, I didn't really like catch a lot of the Easter eggs in this movie, but there were apparently a shit ton.
Yeah, I
There's
don't
a
know.
bunch of Indiana Jones stuff. There's like references to even more games than I have even played,
Mhm.
and books that I haven't read. So I'm gonna have to go back. Like I'm gonna go back and watch it in theaters probably once more. I'm not gonna see this like 5-6 times like a lot of other Star Wars movies, but I'd like to see it one more time. It was great seeing it with a crowd that was like super into it,
Mhm.
because just like with Deadpool, like I've missed out on that kind of movie going experience for a while. So to be in the crowd and feel the vibe of the room, watching the movie, it was cool. Even if the crowd wasn't like as into it as with Deadpool 2, like it was still a good vibe in the room. So yeah. Where
Yeah,
did you end up
people.
seeing it?
I saw it at assembly, and
Yeah.
people clapped at the end.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, no, people
There
were.
there were like 2 or 3 people that did that at my showing.
But I also saw Deadpool again, which
Yeah.
I feel like was is why I can't focus on Solo right now because I saw Deadpool again,
Yeah.
which
Because of that
was
mangly face.
just as good the second time around. Also, James McAvoy was in the room.
Yes, I thought so.
Mhm.
So they had 2 wheelchairs.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else I even really have to say about Solo, because it's like it was unnecessary, but it was also harmless.
Mhm.
So it's very like it's a very safe, middle of the road, enjoyable. Like I'm gonna buy it when it comes out on home video release because it's Star Wars. I need to have it. But like I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch it a ton. But if I was like flipping through the channels, and it happened to be on, I would probably leave it on. There's
Yeah.
like it's one of those movies. Like I don't need to see it 8 million times. I also didn't feel like I needed to watch Rogue One a ton of times,
See, I
but
saw Rogue One more than once in the theater, and I actually like Rogue One much better, but that's also because it was much darker.
oh no, so do I. But like it's one of the things where it's like it's not one of the things with Star Wars that I need to experience like every year. I don't need to watch that movie every year like I watch the original trilogy.
Mhm.
So
I think what it was missing was there were no cute things in this movie.
no cute things.
No, there's no BB-8. There's no porgs. There's no Ewoks.
Rio was cute.
I
He's
mean,
a
the
little monkey
cutest
with
thing
extra
in it
arms.
was Amelia Clark. She's fucking adorable. I love her. Mother of Dragons is my favorite.
Trying to think. Scissor Punch wasn't cute for you?
No.
Big Lobster Man? I feel like there were a couple creatures that were like kind of cute, but they were just like lost in the background of scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't like as up front.
They could have.
But you have Chewie on screen for like the whole movie.
That's true. You do. You get a full Chewie, and when the wind is blowing his fur, after
and
he
he's
gets
got
clean,
goggles on.
Oh, when he has his goggles on, that's adorable. Okay, that's adorable. That was really
Yeah.
cute. When Chewie had his goggles on. I was thinking like after they wash all the mud off. Also, what was that scene when they get in the shower together?
That was.
This sounds like something I'm making up, but I'm not.
Yeah.
That like
That was
actually happened.
Completely unnecessary for one joke, but also kind of hilarious at the same time because it finished off a meet cute. Like that was their like prison escape moment where it's like, what was the fuck? There was a movie with like, I want to say it was Damon Wayans and Stephen Baldwin from the 90s where they were two prisoners where they were tied together for the whole movie. And I was like, for some reason, I just immediately thought of that random ass fucking movie for that whole sequence. And so it played into that, the fact that they were like taking a shower together. And then he was quite coiffed afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Chewie with goggles Funko Pop is maybe the most adorable thing I've ever seen. It's a very good Funko.
Most Wanted? Is that the name of it?
Of what? Because that's there's Muppets Most Wanted.
No. I'm trying to figure out your movie.
I am probably not going to remember the name, even if we have it on hand.
Okay, fine.
I mean, I'm looking it up right now, but no, Most Wanted is a very different movie. That is Keenan Ivory Wayans and Jon Voight.
Is it The Last Boy Scout?
No, that is Keenan again, I believe.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm looking at it right now.
Is it Damon Wayans?
It is.
Well, that's him and Bruce Willis.
Yeah. Okay, that's Bruce Willis, so that's a no.
Hold on. I'm gonna cut to the chase on this, and I'm looking up.
Is it Bulletproof? It's Bulletproof with Adam Sandler.
No, it's not Bulletproof. I'm looking up Stephen Baldwin's IMDb right now.
And then we can cross-reference.
Yeah.
I didn't know they made a Homie D Clown movie. You learn something new every day.
Why wouldn't they? This is, I don't know. None of Stephen Baldwin's movies sound familiar by title to me.
Was this also
besides Biodome?
Was this also a dream? Did this also occur in a dream?
Could have.
You've manifested an entire movie about a prison break between Damon Wayans and Stephen Baldwin.
All right, I guess I gotta look up Damon Wayans' IMDb for this. God damn it. It's the whole derailing of this fucking episode.
You started it. Now I want to know. I want to know what this cinematic masterpiece is called. Or if you really just made that up.
I mean, I could just be confusing it with two completely different actors.
You could just be making up a movie that doesn't even exist.
No, there's a movie that exists. I'm probably just mixing up the actors.
You know, I want to Google famous movie shower scenes, but I feel like I shouldn't do that on my work computer.
That's also not going to bring up as many funny things as you think as just adult websites.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I'm thirsty enough as it is.
Yeah, I don't know what movie it actually is I'm thinking of, but whatever. There's a movie
Okay.
that it reminded me of.
It reminded me of when, like, whenever I take, like, a bubble bath, Olive is like, what are you doing in there? And she has to be like, in my space.
Well, I think that's actually like how they meant to play it, since Chewie is based on George Lucas's dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm assuming that that's really what they were going for, but it also had just the vagueness of the earlier thing. It added that little bit of sexual aspect.
Yeah, well, okay, but why can Han speak Wookiee?
I'm guessing it's like Thor with Groot.
It was
He
an
took it as an
elective
elective.
in college.
Well, so in expanded stories, he was raised by a Wookiee. So I'm assuming that it's partially a similar story. Even though he's like supposedly raised as an orphan in this movie, whatever. It didn't bother me. It's not one of those things where I'm like, I need to know every answer. So I'm like, whatever. And they explained that he could barely speak it too. So even like in the subtitles, it was all like mangled.
Yeah, it's like me speaking Japanese. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's a difficult language.
But yeah, I mean, do you have anything else about Solo?
I don't. I really don't. I'm
trying
trying to think of other things, but like it was nice. It was fine. It was like
it's hard to find things to say like overly positive or overly negative when a movie is just like, that was a nice, enjoyable movie.
It's like I was gonna compare this to like sleeping with someone where like it's nice. It's not particularly like hot and passionate, but it gets the job done.
It's my pizza argument.
What's your pizza?
Pizza. Like, there's no bad pizza. There's pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's sort of my argument with sex too. It's like, at least you're still having sex. It's bad, but at least you're still having it.
No, you haven't. That makes me think that you haven't had really bad sex, which makes me very envious that you are so pure and so lucky.
No, I've had bad sex. I've probably caused bad sex. So, yeah, it's one of those things where I'm just like, hey, at least I'm here. At least I'm in the room at the moment. The room where the people are is where we are. Yeah,
where the people are. That's what it made me think of.
Yeah, I think I was going more Hamilton, but that's fine. All right, well then we'll cut it here then, as are clearly running out of things to say that are overly passionate one way or the other.
I mean, I feel like we could have talked much more passionately about Adam's Family Values.
Yeah, probably. And like the little bit of racism that's in it too. Yeah, that Thanksgiving stuff.
Yep.
All right. Well, I don't even know what's coming up next. We'll be back with an episode about something.
I think The Incredibles will be our next one.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and my trip to London. I will be going to foggy London town.
That sounds like a Nightmare Before Christmas world.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing! I hope so.
Would it be amazing?
Yeah, it would. For me, it would.
All right. I guess you could just go to Universal Studios and go to Harry Potter World, but all right. Cool. Well, we'll be back with, I guess, Incredibles.
I think, but we'll figure it out. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Cool. See ya.